Good evening, folks. What's going on? Earthmaster here. Checking in on this Thursday night, January 28th, 2021, 7:25 p.m. And just doing an update video here for tonight. I know I put one out this morning, but wanted to cover a little bit of activity that I didn't get to cover this morning. First, taking a look at the earthquake 3D globe. Still shows some older quakes here on the globe, about ready to drop off that 24-hour threshold. So this closes in on a very quiet area, quiet activity in this region over the last 24 hours. We have seen a little uptick in activity, kind of a 4.6s there, kind of odd. Right there just off the coast of Japan in the Pacific Ring of Fire there in that section, northwest part. Other than that, we haven't seen any type of movement down here near the Solomon Islands or into Fiji and southward into New Zealand. Very quiet. Like I said, this activity is soon to be dropping off that 24-hour threshold, if not by the time this video is done. A little bit of activity out here on the west coast. And I always say, if it's quiet out here on the western Pacific, over here on the east is the area to watch, and that's kind of the issue tonight. 3.3, the latest quake up in Alaska. Let's go ahead and check out the movement in the west coast region there in California. Latest from the USGS folks here, the all magnitudes. I wanted to get to some activity over here off the coast, or right around Vermont. A couple viewers mentioned to me about the quake, a couple quakes out there. We'll get to that here in a minute. There is that earthquake up there, up in the Alaska region, 3.3 that struck, but also down here in Southern California, a little bit of uptick around the Ridgecrest region. They did have a 3.2 in that Ridgecrest rupture zone there, where that July 4th and July 5th earthquake sequence struck there. Was it last year, or now is it 2 years ago? 2 years ago now. Not last year, but the year before. Yeah, 2019 there when that earthquake struck. So kind of stretching down closer to this Garlock fault system, the shear zone down here. A little bit opposite compared to the northwest southeast movement of the plate boundaries there. This one here very capable of producing and triggering the big one there on the San Andreas if we get enough movement there on the Garlock fault. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Sometimes we see some movement out there, but it's been pretty quiet. Little 2.1 near, what's it, Arvin, California? 5.1 kilometers below surface on that specific fault section right there called the, let's see, what is that? The White Wolf Fault Zone. Just off of it, looks like. Kind of up there in that creek. I'm sure there's these guys up here. I tell you what, I do believe precipitation and whatnot, heavy rainfall, does play a major it's a major player when it comes to potential fault movement. And I remember hearing a few years ago that if we really want to get these faults moving and potentially triggering the big one down there in the southern part of the San Andreas Fault, or any specific fault that's locked and loaded, is to put a whole bunch of precipitation on there and let it soak into the ground, and ultimately potentially releasing the energy that way. But you know, they have definitely received quite a bit of rainfall over the last couple days, and you know, it's hard to say if that's going to trigger anything or not. But the thought crossed my mind when I seen this here, because I haven't seen a whole lot of earthquake activity out there in that region, but this is specifically where we did see some high precipitation rates there yesterday, and I think even today as well. But nothing big, just a small little movement there in the creek area of White Wolf Creek. Nevada still showing some activity, not any type of uptick. I say for the most part, the uptick tonight looks like it's in the Ridgecrest area. We haven't seen a lot of uptick in there in a while, but we are also getting some swarming and some movement down there along the Salton Sea. I did cover this a little bit this morning. Seen some earthquake activity stretch out across the Salton Sea region there near Bombay Beach. Some surface quaking in the 2 kilometer range. None over the last hour, but definitely something to watch there. And some more movement up here in the San Jacinto Fault area, which is a highly moving fault. Definitely a lot of pressure being built up there, but also a lot of microquakes that take place to relieve the stress in that region. Nothing on the San Andreas Fault that I can tell. Maybe a little one off the, just off of the San Andreas Fault there, west of Desert Hot Springs, a 1.1 near Garnet, deep, 12 kilometers there. Just a little bit of movement there. All right, what else we got here, folks? I hope I don't get hiccups. I was trying to keep that down. Yes, there is some activity going on in Washington. I did see a couple comments mentioning about some swarming going on up there. Just a little bit of activity west and east of Seattle. A couple explosions, it looks like there. Not for sure what's going on in that state. And also over here by Astoria, Oregon, another explosion, 1.9. And some movement around Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. I did check the seismograph stations there. They are not showing any type of major swarming or any type of swarming at all, for that matter. Hold on a second here. Let me. We'll cover that here in just a second. I want to stay on this map here from the USGS while we move over here to the east and talk about some earthquake activity that took place there. I believe on the 27th, which was yesterday. In order to see that, we got to go back here 7 days, all magnitudes, and we can see the earthquake activity in question up here in Vermont. And this is not out of the ordinary to see earthquake activity up here, and also up here around Maine. I did see comments saying something about potentially offshore. I did not see any type of movement offshore. I checked the EMSC, the European models too, and I did not see anything mentioning about any type of epicenters offshore. Pretty close up here around the Maine region, the 1.6 and the 1.8 for the Vermont area. These guys over here, sometimes they get these quakes, and it doesn't happen too much, but looking at this map right here, it looks like at least over the last week it seems to have increased a little bit, just a little bit in here. But I believe this is right around, kind of, if you can follow a line right there, right? You see this Intermountain West region, and there's definitely activity up here through the Rocky Mountains. But this is the Canadian geologist company folks that are not included on the USGS map. But trust me, all this activity does continue up here if we were to add the data from these folks. But you can kind of follow a line of activity right around this central area, right around this region right here. And what's up there? A lot of folks know about it. It's the North American craton, right? Not a crayon, and not those what are those? Never mind. North American craton is an area that has been relatively stable, that hasn't had any movement, but the areas around it, outside of it, deform, and of course they have earthquakes off around this edge, and sometimes right around it, and that's kind of where we get the majority of that earthquake activity through Vermont and up into the Maine area, right around that North American craton. So it's not uncommon to see earthquake activity in that region of Vermont. Like I said, I looked, I couldn't find any information when it came to the any type of offshore activity, but I did look. But this is kind of your explanation when it comes to earthquake activity, if it does happen out there on the East Coast area. It does happen. Let's see, all the way into Oklahoma, Texas, right around Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, up right smack dab right there through Yellowstone. So a lot of Intermountain West earthquakes are strictly due to the squeezing, I guess, if you will, up against the North American craton area. Let's see what else we got. What did I want to show you guys here? Okay, I don't think there was anything on there. So yeah, kind of, You can kind of see it on this map in a way, that area of the Craton region. We don't see a lot of activity up here in this region unless it's some fracking operations there in Oklahoma. Check that out. Or Wichita, Kansas region. Just not a whole lot of quakes up here, folks. Very seldom do we see any earthquake activity up here in the northern states and whatnot, but it does happen on occasion. But over the last 24 hours, not a whole lot of movement at all on the East Coast area. None whatsoever, at least according to the USGS on the all magnitudes here. In Oklahoma, just having a couple earthquakes. I got to slow my pointer down again, right? I got to keep reminding myself. I don't want to make folks dizzy out there. Yeah, but it's quiet, folks. Right now, it's pretty quiet. Aside from that, the 3 quakes here, the 4.6 each, it's very quiet on the Pacific Plate for now. And I mentioned that this morning there. Also along the... actually, if you take a look at the global view, it's pretty quiet globally at the moment. There is some activity up into Iran and Iraq, but nothing nothing big, just a couple 4s. There's that magic number, 4s. 4. Of course, those are the ones off the coast of Russia and Japan up there. But there's some more 4s in the 4.6 range. It just, what's up with the 4.6? Maybe we need to take 4.6 times 4.6 and we get our next magnitude, right? That'd be huge. Or we could add them. That'd be a big one. So yeah, a couple 4s, even like I said, 4.8 down there. But this activity is much older. They're about ready to drop off. Like I said, that 24-hour window there. So West Coast lighten up, and the Alaska region as well. That's the latest quake there on the globe, I believe. That 3.3 up there in Alaska. So it's it'll be fun to watch overnight and see exactly where potential movement may kick start. The movement up in Washington now, aside from the explosions and whatnot, we need to go over here to the tremor map real quick and check that out. This is movement along the Cascadia subduction zone, and it's kicking up. It's picking up big time. Southern Oregon and into Vancouver Island right there. We're looking at, what do we got? 478 epicenters. So this, on top of what's been occurring over the past few days here, shows a lot of movement on almost the entire area of the Cascadia subduction zone. Even a little bit into, like I say, this just blows me away right here, because for the most part, that Juan de Fuca plate right there that's kind of subducting underneath, that is subducting underneath the North American plate, ends. I mean, you can kind of see, you really can't see on this map. On the other one, you can see it visually, kind of right there, and it subducts underneath here in the North American plate. But these tremors that are showing up are like way down here, right around my area, and I don't believe the Juan de Fuca plate stretches underneath this region here. But it sure shows it. I mean, it sure kind of shows some tremor movement being reported directly under my feet almost. And like I say, it's just, unless somehow that Juan de Fuca plate's kind of going underneath there a little bit more, I don't know. I might have to look into that and see exactly potentially how far it goes south here underneath the North American plate. But I always thought it kind of ended right about there, right at that triple point junction there, the Mendocino area, and then kind of scooting over this way a little bit. Who knows? Maybe it goes down like this, and yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look into that a little bit. But definitely some movement there, folks, on the Cascadia. So be on guard. I believe that's kind of why we're seeing some activity at the some of the volcanoes there, right? But it's more than likely plate tectonics there at work. In order to see some of the volcanic seismic activity, we got to check their data, latest stations there. You can still see that swarming activity that occurred there a couple weeks ago now. Looking at the latest seismograph station there, we can see if there's any movement there at the Mountain Hood region. They got the sensitivity really cranked up, meaning they're trying to pick up any movement for the most part there. And it looks like it did pick up a little bit here, but not much. I don't see any swarming, at least today. Maybe a couple small quakes, and see what yesterday looked like. Come on. Yeah, just a couple small quakes. It's really amplified. The data is that they're trying to see if there's any activity that's really not showing up on some of the other stations, I guess. But I don't see any major swarming there at Mount Hood. And also checked Mount St. Helens as well, where that little earthquake was reported on the USGS. We'll check that here real quick. Yeah, a couple of the small quakes showing up there over the last 2 days, but I believe one of those was today. See those little small. Well, there's one. There's a red one right there, right smack dab in the summit. But that's not a whole lot of movement. Those are what is that one? A 0.5 down there, pretty shallow too, just below the surface there of the crater at Mount St. Helens. But looking at the seismic stations there, I didn't see any type of swarming. Ooh, you're not going to let me see it? I could have swore I just checked these out here. What's going on? Maybe, okay, let's check this other one here. Maybe this is the one I checked. They're basically within the summit region. Yeah, so you can see there's not a whole lot. And this is not really squashed either. This data is not really squashed. It is kind of amplified, meaning you can see a lot of the wavy lines indicating that it's it will pick up some earthquake activity. The potential small ones that we did see there at Mount St. Helens are probably that one right there. This looks like some type of interference, but yeah, just a couple small quakes there, but no major movement there to report at those volcanoes from the data that's being provided to us. So it's looking a-okay. Far as the Yellowstone supervolcano, even there is pretty quiet, folks. Just I don't see any movement at all. I mean, maybe a small little microquake there in the northwest corner, but that's about it. It's looking pretty quiet, pretty mellow. So but yeah, if somebody has more information on this Vermont earthquake activity, feel free to include it in the comments. I couldn't find anything. Somebody mentioned maybe potentially an offshore volcano, but I just don't see that. I couldn't find any type of information when it comes to any type of volcano offshore. That's pretty much news to me, but who knows? Who knows? The world's getting crazy, so anything's possible, We just need I don't know. Nothing surprises me anymore, folks. It just, like just right now, I don't know what's going on here. You guys ever hear of the Mandela effect? Is that what it's called? Yeah, the Mandela effect. It's kind of where I don't want to go into lengthy conversation about it, but it's kind of where you remember something being like, okay, for example, like this. Look at this chunk of land off of, I know it's Tasmania, but for some reason, just looking at it right now, I could have swore, maybe it's just because I'm tired, that this was connected. Or maybe I never really paid attention to it. But maybe it's a Mandela effect. Maybe it's like the time warp is changing, the time frequency that we're on. But I don't know why I just looked at that and it's like, something doesn't look right. But I'm pretty certain that it's always been like that. Don't mind me, folks. I'm okay. I really am. Oh, it's just been a fun day, let me tell you. But the Mandela effect, maybe we'll have to have a conversation about that one of these nights here. Uh, what was it? The Bernstein or the Bernstein Bears? And there's a couple other ones. But it's pretty interesting. If you don't know what it is, I would suggest looking on any search browser, typing in the Mandela effect. It's pretty crazy. And I believe it. Trust me, I believe it. All right, folks, enough of my rambling on this Thursday night. I'm going to jump off here and wait to see where this earthquake movement picks up. Like I say, West Coast is kind of on the drawing board right now. But we'll see what Mother Earth wants to do. Anyway, folks, have a good night. We will chat you guys a little bit later. Stay safe, everyone. Peace out.